if you look at these three equations here, you can see that none of them are quadratic because there's no power of 2. Although this is power of 2, but this is in terms of a trigonometry function. So how are we going to solve them? Because one is power 6, one is power 8. It's getting a lot more crazier. So it seems like there's a more complex way to do it. But actually, if you look closely enough, it is connected to quadratic equations, and we just need some sort of manipulations around the variables just to make it to a quadratic equations that we are familiar with. So let's start off with this first example here. X to the power 6 plus 7x cubed plus 10 is equal to 0. Now x to the power 6 is basically x cubed times x cubed, isn't it? And that is basically x cubed to the power of 2. So we can write it like that. And you can see that there's a power of 2 here. So if we let a variable equal to x cubed, we made a quadratic equation. And so this is the case. So we are going to let y equal to x cubed. You can put any alphabet in there, is never mind. And so this happens. Y squared plus 7y plus 10. We are just substituting y into x cubed, y into x cubed. So this is a familiar form that we can try to solve. It seems like we can factorize that, so we are going to factorize that, and we'll have y equal to negative 5 or y equal to negative 2. But we want to solve for x, so we are just going to substitute x cubed back into y. So x cubed is equal to negative 5 or x cubed is equal to negative 2. Now, unlike x squared or any even powers, if you multiply a negative number by 3 times, you will eventually get back a negative number. So there isn't restrictions about, oh no, you just can't put negative there. It's actually possible to cube root negative values. So in the end, we are going to get negative 1.71 and negative 1.26, rounding off to 3 significant figures. So let's see our second example here. The one where x to the power of 8 plus x to the power of 4 minus 1 is equal to 0. And you can see once again, x4, x to the power of 8 is basically x to the power of 4 times x to the power of 4. So we can write it as like that. X to the power of 4 squared plus x to the power of 4 minus 1 is equal to 0. And now you can see that it looks like a quadratic equation now. So we are going to let y equal to x4 so that we made it into the familiar form we want to get, which is y squared plus y minus 1 equal to 0. I think we can't factorize it, so let's use the quadratic formula. So a is equal to 1, b is equal to 1, c is equal to negative 1. So instead of x, we now have y, because we are solving for y now for this quadratic equation. Negative b, negative 1 plus minus b squared, 1 squared, minus 4 times a times c, 4 times 1 times negative 1. And we are going to square root that. Square root that. Divide by 2 multiplied by a, which is 1. So we'll have negative 1 plus minus 1, negative 4 times 1, negative 4. Negative 4 multiplied negative 1 is plus 4. So 1 plus 4. There is not a there's not negative inside the square root, so we can square root. So negative 1 plus minus square root 5 over 2. So y is negative 1 plus square root 5 divide 2, or y is equal to negative 1 minus square root 5 over 2. Let's just leave it as exact form first. So now we are going to substitute x4 back into y. So x to the power 4 is equal to, wow, negative 1 plus square root 5 divided by 2, or x to the power 4 equal to negative 1 minus square root 5 divided by 2. So now we are going to root it. We are just now going to root it by 4. Root both sides by 4. Like that. And we'll have the plus minus in the end because it is an even power. If you multiply x, if x is a negative power, if x is a negative number and you multiply it by 4 times, you will eventually get a positive answer. So x can be negative, can be positive. That's why we need a plus minus. So this is a bit complicated. So s is equal to square root 5 minus 1 over 2, and then 4 with a plus minus, or x is equal to minus 1 minus square root 5 over 2, 4 plus minus. And now you can see minus 1 minus square root 5 is surely less than 0. Divided by 2 is surely less than 0, which is negative. And we can't have negative here. So we are just going to reject this solution because we can't get any values. If you multiply a number 4 times, whether it's negative or positive, it will eventually get positive. So this is not acceptable. So let's round it up to 3 significant figures. So square root 5 minus 1 divided by 2, and then the answers are 0.887 plus minus. And we will only have 2 solutions here. The positive of 0.887 and the negative of 0.887, rounding up to 3 significant figures.